Good morning, everyone, and welcome to OLC4O Term 1B. Today is January 26th, 2023. I'm your instructor, Mike Laverty. This is class number 23. So we are on the final class, the final broadcast of this term. And this is as you see, this is part 4. This is part 4 of the final exam preparation. So we spent 4 days this week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, talking about the final exam and getting everybody ready to to write the final exam or the culminating activity, depending on the situation in your community. So I've mentioned that a few times, that if you can't write a final exam, if a final exam can't be scheduled for you, because we have to arrange the final exam in your learning center with your DEC. So if we can't do that, then we will issue you a course culminating activity. But of course, the final exam is option number 1. So today we'll continue to look at some final exam preparation. So today is Thursday, January 26th. As I mentioned, this is the final broadcast class of OLC4O in Term 1B. Would like to mention that Friday, January 27th, that is tomorrow, that is the deadline to apply for courses in Term 2A. And if you look on the screen there, you will see tinyurl.com wasa sign up. So if you click on that link down there, you can it'll bring you to the registration page, and you can sign up for courses in our next term. So term 1B is wrapping up today. The classes wrap up today. Next week will be the admin week, and then classes will start up the following week in February for term 2A. So we have wrapped up units 1, 2, 3, and 4, and we're working on our final exam and culminating activity preparation. So the preparation for both is the same. It's going to cover the same material, and it's going to cover the same strategies. So that's how I'd like you to approach your preparation for the final exam. You know, your strategy and your preparation is going to be different depending on which course you're studying for. So if you're studying for math and biology or history, it's going to be a different kind of focus. So I would suggest to you your focus for these courses is your strategies. And in OLC4O, you have reading strategies and you have writing strategies. Because when you write the final exam and when you write the culminating activity, you'll be presented with articles that you have to read, and then you'll answer questions about them based on your ability to read those articles and find the right information that you need, and then you need to write in response to certain prompts and after you do some reading. So, reading and writing are, of course, so closely related, as hopefully you'll see demonstrated by taking this course. Reading will make you a stronger writer. Writing will make you a stronger reader, and so forth, right? Just like, being a musician, listening to music will make you a better musician, and of course playing music makes you a better musician. And it all comes down to just paying attention. Paying attention, taking notes, comparing this, comparing that. Just that's what it all comes down to. So if you look at the playlist, you will see one playlist is listed as final exam. And then after today, you will see 4 classes in the final exam playlist, and you can watch those to get yourself prepared for the final exam. If you have any questions about the final exam, the course culminating activity, the course in general, if you have any questions about your assignments, then please feel free to contact me using one of those contact methods on the screen. That's the best way to get in touch with me. That's how you want to. That's the best way to reach out to my teacher. And every teacher has different communication methods, but those are mine. And even once the course is done, and especially if you're an independent learner, then you want to take note of those methods and stay in touch with me, and we'll talk, we'll chat, we'll email back and forth, we'll do whatever it takes to answer whatever question you may have. Okay, so my office hours are Central Standard Time, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. And like I mentioned in that last slide, even though I'm done broadcasting OLC4O for this term, if you're an independent learner and you're working through the assignments in OLC4O, then this is how you want to contact me. So if you're 8 to 9 weeks in, and if you're an independent learner, I do suggest that you give yourself some kind of a schedule, give yourself some kind of format, a rough guideline for when you're going to complete this assignment. So if you're anything like me, if you have months and months to do something, you probably won't stay on top of it. You won't be doing it. So if you can, I would impose upon yourself some sort of deadline. So if you've been doing the course for about 9 weeks, you should have read all the pages in units 1 through 4, should have done all the assignments, and you should be making a plan for that final assignment, the literacy portfolio. You should know what is included in that checklist, and that's the final pages of Unit 4. And you should know where your work is and gather it up, right? So you should keep your work organized somehow so you know where it is. If you're working digitally, create a desktop folder or a Google Drive folder. And if you're doing it, kind of a more traditional way, then I would create a binder or a folder or a drawer or something, some spot for all of your assignments that you know where they are, and you can go back and you can refer to it, because the portfolio, you're not producing any new writing aside from the edits you make to assignment 43. You're just gathering up your work and putting it in one spot. All right, so we'll look at a headline today, and then we will review practice final exams on this amazing website. I'm really happy this website exists. It is free. They do have a paid version. I think the paid version is more for teachers and principals and people who are running a school and are trying to reach out to many students. So I wouldn't worry about that. On that website they do say, sign up for this, sign up for that, but I would just focus on the free stuff on the website. And the most useful tool that I think is on there are the practice exams. So learn about strategies and mindsets to use when taking an exam. So once again, I'm going to go over some things that have worked for me and things that I've read about, techniques to prepare yourself mentally before you take the exam, like the weeks before, the days before the exam, and then maybe even more importantly, how to prepare yourself mentally in like the 2 minutes before you start writing the exam. So getting yourself mentally prepared, ready to write this thing, believing in yourself, getting yourself nice and calm. And if you're writing the course culminating activity, it's going to be a little bit different because you're not timed. You don't have to complete this thing in 2 hours. But even then, you want to mentally prepare yourself and just remind yourself that you can do this. If you've been putting in the work over the past couple of weeks and months, then you know you're ready to write this thing. And then we're going to review some of the key concepts of OLC4O while taking an online practice exam. Our success criteria, so again, these success criteria, it's nice to have a benchmark. It's nice to have something to shoot for. So, here's what I'm going to learn today, and I can use that knowledge by doing these two things. I can use the strategies and mindsets presented today before taking before taking a practice exam, and hopefully, before taking the actual exam, right? So both, right? So use the mindsets in the practice and use the mindsets in the actual exam. And then put the key concepts of OLC4O into action while completing at least one practice exam. And then your actual final exam. And then hopefully, a really big picture, in your life. Using some of these skills you picked up in the future. That is the end goal of a course like this, right? It's I know that most of you, if not all of you, your primary focus is just graduating, getting that secondary school diploma, and I get that. But if you put the work in, then you're definitely going to pick up some skills that are going to carry you onwards into the future. So here is today's article. We have debunking gut cleanses and other diet myths. So this article was published on January 23rd. This was in the Life section of the Globe and Mail. So most large newspapers will divide their articles up into sections, such as a finance section, business, just local news, provincial news, nationwide news, international news. They'll have opinion pieces. They'll have an art section. They'll have obituaries, advertisements, things like that. And a lot of them have what is called like a life section. So a life section is just sort of advice on living a healthy life, and exercise and nutrition and mental health and things of that nature, right? So they're going to be articles. So that's the type of the article, but it's also another example of an opinion article, right? So it's another example of an author giving their opinion on something. In this case, the idea of a gut cleanse, So in the month of January, a lot of people start to practice New Year's resolutions. It's the new year. It's going to be a new me, and they want to get better, and they want to start living a healthier life, start exercising, start sleeping more, eating better, and that's all well and good. I'm a really big believer in that. I myself have made a lot of changes in my life in terms of how much sleep I get, how much I exercise, and what I eat, right? So I think it's really important. I think mental health, a lot of it comes down to, how much you sleep, how much food you're eating, and what kinds of food you're eating, and how much you're exercising, right? They're really huge, right? So this is written by a woman named Leslie Beck. You see the photo caption is Think Stock, Getty Images, iStock Photos. So that's what you call a photo bank. So instead of paying a photographer, they got this image from that photo bank. So obviously a photographer took that photo, but it's not attributed to a specific person. It's just the photo credit is this Think Stock, Getty Images, iStock Photo. I don't know why all three are listed, but maybe they're all owned by the same company. So while diet is a key factor in maintaining a healthy gut, don't count on a one-off gut cleanse or short-term diet to have long-lasting effects. So that is the opinion being expressed here. There's our headline, Debunking Gut Cleanses and Other Diet Myths. So debunking, that's a verb, which means to debunk something means to disprove it, to show that it's false, to tell people why it's wrong. So when you debunk something, it's out there in the world, and a lot of people think that it's true. A lot of people believe it, and for whatever reason, this author wants to debunk debunk that myth, wants to show people how you may have heard about this thing and you may think it's true, but I'm here to tell you that it's not. So she's giving you her opinion. And what is she debunking? She is debunking gut cleanses. So not just any cleanse, a gut cleanse, right? So gut modifies the cleanse. Adjectives are modifying words. They change the meaning of a word, right? They give it a different twist. Or they tell us specifically what kind of a noun we're talking about, because we're not just talking about any cleanse, we're talking about a gut cleanse. So gut cleanses and other diet myths. So we're not just talking about myths, we're talking about diet myths, and there are other diet myths. So so logically what they're saying here is that a gut cleanse is a diet myth. And of course, the word myth has a lot of different meanings. It's a story that people tell that may or may not be true. Essentially it's a story that is not literally true. So that's kind of why they use that word myth here. So they're saying it's a story that people tell to make money, but according to this author, you may agree, you may disagree. She's saying it's a myth. Now, if we look at this article, there's headings found in the article, and the headings are in bold, and it's a larger typeface. So they're in bold, which means they're thicker, and it's a larger typeface, which means they're larger than the main text. So if you were to skim this article, that's probably the first thing you would see after you read the title and look at the illustration or the photograph. You would notice that they have these headings, and the headings are: should you cleanse or reset your gut? What the science says. Colon cleanses, detoxes, gut reset, diets explained, how to nourish your gut. So you'll notice that things are put in quotations, and then you got to ask yourself why. What purpose does that serve? And I think that this is a really important concept to talk about as we review OLC4O. OLC4O, it gives you strategies on how to approach the written word. So when you read something, you're not just reading it and accepting everything as true and that's not what reading is. If we want to be intelligent people and critical thinkers, if we want to take an active role in our learning and life and not just let life happen to us, we want to be active people. We don't just want to sit here and have people explain stuff to us. We want to be critical thinkers, and when we have to look at something and we have to say, okay, why did this person write the article? Why did they make this decision? What's the purpose here? So why would they put things in quotation marks? I would argue that it's to make us question them, right? It's to make them look questionable, right? So I think that's gut reset, right? You often talk about people talking in like air quotation marks, right? So they're trying to make you question those terms, right? So not just accept them, just look at them, question them, and take a long-term approach. After the indulgences of the holiday season, you might be tempted to cleanse your colon or follow a gut reset diet. Doing so, proponents say, right? So there's that example, right? So and that's like a paraphrase, right? So she's paraphrasing other people. So doing so, proponents say. So a proponent is someone who believes in something. So a proponent of a gut cleanse is someone who is out there actively selling it and trying to get people to do it. They say it can improve digestion, kickstart weight loss, enhance mental focus, ease joint pain, even improve fertility, right? I would put the word "and" right here. That's my writing style, right? So technically that's grammatically correct. So, these are professionally produced articles, but I think that as you become a stronger reader and writer, you will read other people's writing and you'll want to change it. You'll want to edit it and make it sound more like you. And that's a healthy thing. I think you need to develop your own style and how you would write things. And that's a really important part of becoming a better reader and a writer, becoming a more active reader and writer. And that's sort of like the progression in any kind of field where you start off as like a complete rookie and you can't tell anything apart because it's all new to you, it's all strange. But then once you get used to things and you read 100 things and you read 100 articles, you just become stronger and you become more confident and you know what you like and you know what things should sound like. Sounds enticing, comma, especially now when many of us are highly focused on personal health and wellness goals. While diet is a key factor in maintaining a healthy gut, comma, so that's another great example of an introductory phrase. So I just call them intro phrases. Always followed by a comma. Especially words like while and during. So while diet is a key factor in maintaining a healthy gut, comma, don't count on a one-off gut cleanse or short-term diet to have a long-lasting effects. Here's what to know, right? And another great example of a transition phrase, right? Use those transitions, guide your reader. This intro phrase is also doing a comparison. So while this may be true, also keep this in mind, right? So that's a really important technique to do as a writer. You want to make comparisons, and that's how our brains work, right? We like to compare things. We like to look for patterns. I have this pattern in my head. I think this is true. But have you looked at this pattern, right? There's also this framework over here, right? So, and all of us have mental frameworks and belief systems, the way things that we believe are true. You know, life would be pretty scary if you didn't have those belief systems and if you didn't have ways to predict what would happen, right? So if everything was new to you and everything was changing, life would just be a nightmare, right? So you want things to be reliable, and you have your beliefs, but then it's healthy to have those beliefs challenged a bit, right? And sort of like compared to other things. And that's what a good writer does, right? A colon cleanse involves flushing out the large intestine. The practice is based on the ancient theory of auto-intoxication, based on the idea that toxins from stagnant materials in the large intestine can build up and cause symptoms such as fatigue, headache, high blood pressure, arthritis, and weight gain. So I think the author here is proving that they know what they're talking about. Eliminating these toxins is necessary to improve health, right? So you've got a very short sentence up top, a very long sentence in the middle, and then a very short sentence at the end, right? And so pay attention to how writers do that, right? So, a very short sentence to introduce your main idea, a longer explanation, and then a short sentence to transition to the next paragraph. Various methods are touted to cleanse your colon. At home, comma, you might follow a special diet, comma, use herbal extracts and teas, and/or take certain nutrition supplements, for example. Yeah, I don't like that for example at the end. I'd probably start with that. I would say, for example, you might follow a special diet. So, for example, at home, you may use. So I would change that. I don't like that. That seems very clunky to me, and I think you notice things like that when you read them out loud. So that's a really good tip and strategy I would suggest doing is read things out loud, and depending on the situation you're in, if you're in an exam room, if you don't want to bother the people around you, then read things out loud in your minds. There's really two different kinds of reading you can do. When you read something inside your head, you can like speed read it and just absorb it in your head, Or you can slow things down and literally say the words inside your head, hear the words inside your head. Take your time. You'll catch mistakes that way. If it's your writing or somebody else's, you'll catch mistakes. You'll catch ways that you can improve the writing. And the number one way to do it is to actually read it out loud. And then you get bonus marks if you can record yourself speaking your stuff out loud. I guarantee you, if you write an essay and you speak that essay out loud and you record yourself saying it on a video on your phone or some other audio recording device, and then you play it back and listen to it, I absolutely guarantee you you'll find so many ways you can make it better. And once you get past that awkward stage of hearing your own voice, it's such a powerful tool. This applies to musicians, anybody who works in a communications field, anybody who communicates and writes things and creates things. If you can go back and listen to it, it's such a powerful tool. I really highly recommend that. So before we go into the practice exams, I just want to quickly go over some of the these are the expectations of this course. So by the end of the course, OLC4O, students will demonstrate their understanding of the importance of communication skills in everyday life, at school, at work, and at home, their own roles and responsibilities in the learning process, and their own growth in literacy during the course. So that's a foundational concept of this course. I would say of taking English courses in general, is that you take an active role, right? You take an active role and you're responsible for your own learning. And that's, no one can do this for you. At the end of the day, you have to take an active role in your own learning, in your own progress as a reader and a writer. And to look beyond getting a grade on a piece of paper, and to look beyond, just doing the work to please a teacher, right? It's all about your skills and how it can make you better at school, it can make you better at work, it can make you better at home. And I would say, your interests and your hobbies and, whatever, like why you get up in the morning, what makes you excited, right? Learning how to read and how to write can open up those things for you. And, and it's at the end of the day, it's your own responsibility, right? So you have to. And that's when you're going to find the most success, is when you're doing something that you believe in. By the end of the course, students will demonstrate their knowledge, their understanding of reading as an active process of thinking and constructing meaning, and writing as a process that involves a range of thinking and composing skills. So we look at reading as an active process, not a passive one. So when you're a passive reader, and this happens when you've just learned how to read and you're in grade 1 or 2 or grade 3, the teacher gives you an assignment, you're expected to read it and learn it, and that's it. You're not ready yet. But once you're an adult or a teenager and you're taking high school courses, then there's an expectation that you're an active thinker. And, reading, you're constructing meaning. You're building it up as you read it, right? It's not like the information is just given to you. And this comes down to, we have directly stated information and we have indirectly stated information. And that's really important, right? Active readers can pick up indirectly stated information. They can read between the lines. They can listen to a politician speak, and they can figure out what's not being said, right? And that's really important, right? You need to understand what's not being said, what's being implied, what's being hidden. What are they not telling me, right? That's what being a critical thinker is all about, right? It's not like you just sit there and someone just dumps knowledge into your brain. It's like, no, I'm going to read this, I'm going to construct it, I'm going to look at it, I'm going to ask questions. I'm going to be a critical thinker. And then we see that writing is a process that involves many thinking and composing skills, right? It's not just simply pumping out words and just writing. It's a process, and it involves many, many steps. All right. So with that in mind, we'll take one last look at this website and see what we can extract from it. See how we can prepare ourselves for the final exam. So there we go. You're looking at my Google search screen. So we'll go to OntarioLiteracy.ca. Going to go up to that top menu and pick up the OSSLT practice tests. So these are the practice tests for the Ontario Secondary School Literacy Test. So if you're in a high school setting, you have to take the literacy test. I believe the way it works is if you don't pass the test, then you do it again. And if on your second attempt you also don't pass it, then you take the literacy chorus. Or if the literacy test can't be written in your community, then you take the chorus, OLC4O. All right, so but they're testing you on the same. It's all based on the same principles, right? There's no difference between the literacy test and the literacy course. They're all based on the same foundational ideas. They teach students the same skills and they test students on the same skills. So I've opened up the test booklet for the 2017-2018 test. And so I'm going to practice some reading strategies, and I'm going to look at the whole test here, at least the parts that they've allowed us to look at. So I have to write a series of paragraphs. So, and then you want to ask yourself, like, you know, this may be the first assignment given to you in this booklet, but you don't have to start here. If you don't feel like writing, and if you feel like writing is not your strong suit, you feel you're a better reader, then I would go on to something that gives you some go on to something you're going to feel comfortable with and get the ball rolling. It's really important when you write a final exam to have momentum. You really want to have positive momentum, like pushing forward. So, you know, if you look at something and it's you're having difficulty understanding the questions, you don't know how to get started, you know what? It's totally fine to just put it aside and come back to it, okay? You want to practice time management. You want to look at all these sections, and maybe you want to jot down, like, okay, I've got 2 hours, and there's 5 parts on this test, so I'm gonna give 15 minutes to every part, right? Or I'm gonna spend 10 minutes on each section, and then I'm gonna reassess. I'm gonna say, okay, there was 5 parts. I did each part for 10, 12 minutes. Now I'm an hour in. Now I've got an hour to go. Okay, and now you can say, okay, I barely even touched section 1, so I got to focus on that. I pretty much did all of section 2, so I can put that aside. So, but when you get started, as I mentioned in a previous class, try some breathing exercises. Breathe in for 3 seconds. Hold it for 3 seconds. Breathe out for 5 or 6 seconds. So the rule is you want to exhale for about twice as long as your inhale was. And it's a great technique to just to calm yourself down. This is in any situation you can think of where you're feeling stressed, when you're feeling anxious. And then people often talk about this feeling of like spiraling out. They get nervous. They start to think negative thoughts, and they start to spiral out. And they become anxious about being anxious, right? And it's just like this really negative feedback cycle that you want to stop it. So you have to find a tool to stop it, right? And then one good way to stopping it is using breathing techniques, right? So that I really recommend that. It does put you in a calm state. So maybe you don't want to jump into writing. Maybe you want to go right into the multiple choice questions, right? So let's have a look at some of these multiple choice questions. Choose the sentence that does not, so I'm looking at question 1 here. Choose the sentence that does not belong in the following paragraph. The Lions Foundation of Canada Dog Guide Program provides service dogs to Canadians with disabilities. Puppies attend a training school after spending their first year with a foster family. The foster family teaches puppies basic obedience and exposes them to everyday experiences. The puppies can be taught many tricks. A puppy wearing a green Lions Foundation jacket is likely training for a future of service. Okay? So we're talking about dogs that can help people with disabilities, and it's organized by the Lions Foundation of Canada. And so we mentioned this before. They say which one does not belong in the following paragraph, and so they all sort of belong. It's not like you get like a sentence talking about like mountains or like chemistry that's just like way out of left field. They're all kind of like relevant, right? So it's either 2, 3, 4, or 5, right? So they attend a training school. They're taught obedience. Wearing a, I would say it's between 4 and 5. So I would say that this bit about the puppy wearing a jacket and the tricks, but the jacket seems a more relevant detail because it's about the dog training for service and becoming a fully fledged service dog. And I would cut the bit about if I had to cut one sentence, I would cut the part about it learning tricks, because it's not about learning tricks, it's about helping somebody. Where is the best place to insert this sentence? Dried fruit, on the other hand, requires no preparation and is a good option for some people if time is limited. So the phrase "on the other hand" is, it's referencing something that shouldn't be the first sentence in a paragraph, because it wouldn't make sense logically. You can't say "on the other hand" if you haven't talked about the first hand, right? So that wouldn't make sense. So let's read it. If you plan ahead, it is easy to have healthy choices on hand when you are hungry. Dried fruit, on the other hand, so that doesn't make sense. Raw vegetables such as peppers or cucumbers are easy to cut on the go, but require some effort to cut up. Dried fruit, on the other hand, requires no preparation. So that makes a lot of sense. So we're talking about different kinds of foods, bringing them with us, and how much preparation they require. So putting it out for sentence 2 seems to make a lot of sense. But sentence 3, these natural snacks will help you avoid eating junk food. When you make nutritious choices, snacks can give you what you need to keep going throughout the day. So logically, that phrase "on the other hand," that's the key here. When you use a phrase like that, it has to come immediately. So on one hand, you've got raw vegetables. On the other hand, you've got dry fruit. So number 2 makes the most sense. Which option tells how to make the following sentence correct? What's clear is that when people exercise, what option tells how to make the following sentence correct? Okay, so we have a sentence. Let's read the sentence. What's clear is that when people exercise, they increase the amount of particular protein that acts like fertilizer for the brain. So we want to make this sentence clear. When people exercise, comma, remove the apostrophe in what's. That's incorrect, because that wouldn't make sense. Replace the first comma with a colon. That wouldn't make sense either, right? Because everything before a colon, should be a complete sentence. What's clear is that when people exercise is not a complete sentence. So the colon doesn't make sense. Replace the period with a question mark. Is that a question? No. So colon is wrong, question is wrong, what's is wrong. By a process of elimination, A is the correct answer, and that comma does seem, the second comma, what's clear is that when people exercise, they increase the amount of a particular protein that acts. Yeah, that comma between protein and that seems very unnecessary. I would cut it. Which sentence is written correctly? She sings better than I do. Him and I attended the party. Carolina's gift is from she and me. Us students are most likely to succeed. Which one is written correctly? Carolina's gift. It should be her, right? Not she. It's from her, so I think that one is incorrect. She sings better than I do. That does seem correct. Him and I attended the party. Um, Maybe just we attended the party. This is a very tricky question. So that's a hard one. I would come back to that one. I think the C is wrong. Um, us students are most likely to succeed. That one seems wrong as well. I would say that maybe as students we are most likely to succeed. I would say it's going to be him and I attended the party, or she sings better than I do. So sometimes if you can get that down to a coin toss, that's better than a 1 in 4 opportunity. So I feel like we haven't really spent much time in this course talking about that particular example. So I feel like as a teacher, we should go back and look at that. That is in your unit assignments, but it does get tricky. I myself would have to do a bit of a refresher on how those examples work. Um, but I'm gonna go with she sings. She sings better than I do. I would go with A. That seems correct to me. All right, so we've got another article. Let's see. We got about 10 minutes here. Okay, so we haven't done much on the writing yet, though. Because you will need to do some writing here in this course. We've probably spent more time. All right, this one seems kind of fun. So name an event. Do not write. Okay, so we're going to. And then there's also. We should spend a little bit of time on this. You will be given a graphic text to look at. One of the examples you look at will have a combination of words and visuals that you'll have to look at. So this is energy usage in Ontario 2013. We've got a pie graph. We have a bar graph in combination with a line graph on top. We've got some images here, some infographics. So it's an explanation of energy usage, how much energy is in a kilowatt hour. And here's the questions after. What trend does the household energy usage graph demonstrate? Household, so you look for the key term, where is household energy? Household energy usage, there's the graph. Okay, so what does it demonstrate? No change, sudden change, gradual change, unpredictable change. What does it represent? Okay. Households are becoming more efficient, and this trend is predicted to continue. Okay, so this chart was produced in the 2010s. So you've got this pattern where energy usage is high, and it's dropping down, and it's continued to keep on that rate. So what's the most correct response here? Let's look at the options. So is there no change? That's not true because we have a change. Is it a sudden change? A gradual change? It's not unpredictable, okay, because they are making a prediction. And they're making a prediction that the change will continue. So we know it's a change. So we know it's a change, and we know it's not unpredictable. It is predictable. So it's either a sudden change or a gradual change. And if we look at that chart, I would say it's a gradual change because it's not like dropping off or rising or peaking or jumping up and down. It's a nice gradual change. Right? So that's the strategy you use there. So just take your time, make sure you know what they're asking you, and just, read the question first and then just scan for that specific term and just start ruling things out by a process of elimination. Look for the ones that are wrong, right? And don't just, sometimes you can kind of fool yourself and be like, oh yeah, A is the right answer. Done. but you have to logically and like scientifically eliminate all the wrong answers, right? Because usually with a multiple choice question, there's usually going to be one that is like really wrong, one that's kind of wrong, and two that are sort of right. Not every multiple choice test is going to follow that pattern, but more often than not, that's typically what you get. One answer is just totally wrong. One of them is like sort of wrong, takes a bit of thinking, and then two of them are going to be like, that's when you really got to put your thinking cap on and be like, okay, these both seem right, but I know that one of them is definitely more accurate than the other one. All right, so very quickly, let's look at this short writing task. Name an event you would like to attend. Use specific details to explain why you would like to attend this event. Okay, so let's in the last 5 minutes here, let's just do some quick recap of the writing process. Now I want my pen to be bigger. There we go. So step 1 is planning. I'd like you to do some planning. So, and this is probably, it's going to be the hardest time for you to use the writing process because you're under a time crunch. You've only got 2 hours to do this, but a little bit of planning is going to help, right? So you want to sketch this thing out. And what I would do is I would do something like this. I would do like sentence 1, sentence 2, sentence 3, sentence 4, sentence 5. Write a 5-sentence paragraph, okay? So sentence 1, and this is me personally, Winnipeg Jets playoff game. So my first sentence is what I want to do. Okay? So I'm going to write a sentence about the Winnipeg Jets playoff game. Then I'm going to write about being a kid, going to one. Taking my son to a 2018 playoff game, which I did, which is really awesome. And then maybe the atmosphere, and the excitement and all that, right? The smells, the sounds, details, right? You know, specific details, right? And then 2023 playoffs, road trip. What are some specific details I might want to include? The volume, the noise, right? The intensity, the whiteout, everybody wearing white, the all the costumes everybody wears, right? It's like a big party. That only took me 2 minutes to do, right? It's very important that you do that, right? So you're not going to have time to do the full 5-step writing process when you write an exam. You're not going to have the time to work through multiple drafts, right? So the revision stage and the editing stage are going to be really limited, right? And the publishing stage, again, like you're just simply writing it down. But take some time to plan this thing out. And I would give yourself a sentence planner, right? So that's what I call that tool. A sentence planner. And a sentence planner has a series of prompts. So when you prompt someone to do someone, you're giving them instruction, you're giving them encouragement. So in this case, you're giving it to yourself. You're giving yourself some writing prompts. Okay, I'm going to write 5 sentences, And the 5 sentences are going to be about this. Sentence 1, I talk about going to a Winnipeg Jets playoff game. Sentence 2, I talk about what it was like being a kid and going to one. Sentence number 3, I talk about bringing my son to a game and how excited he was. Sentence 4, I'm talking about the atmosphere and the excitement of being at a Winnipeg Jets game. And then I'm going to wrap things up with sentence 5, where I talk about getting on the road and hopefully going on a road trip for the 2023 playoffs. Because the Jets are looking pretty good this year. They're not my favorite team, but they are definitely the closest team here, and I would love to go see a game. So that's it. That's the final broadcast for OLC4O Term 1B. Thanks for tuning in. Good luck with the rest of the chorus, and good luck with your reading and writing and any other future course you may take. It's been great.